Now at 11 on Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45, an exclusive, the Madison man who prompted a massive search after he went missing last week speaks to Time Warner Cable News about what happened that day. Plus, the last winter storm spelled trouble for some area businesses, but now they're bouncing back, trying to make up for their losses during the storm. And President Barack Obama once again wants to use executive powers, this time to help juveniles under solitary confinement.
You're watching Time Warner Cable News on ABC 45.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Sharon Stone. Details on those stories coming up. First at 11, meteorologist Monty Montello has your weather on the one's forecast. So you told us to be on the lookout for a possibility of rain. At least we're not talking about snow or sleet or what we saw last week.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about, yeah.
All right, scene of you. Thank you, Monty. The president of the state NAACP took the stand today during the federal trial of North Carolina's voter ID law. Reverend Dr. William Barber testified that the voter ID rules were confusing and made even more so by the amendment last year that allowed voters to cast a provisional ballot if they had a reasonable impediment to getting an ID.
It's easier to buy a gun than it is to vote. The rules are easier. Every time we go into legislative session, they're making it easier. The way you can purchase a gun from a private owner is easier than it is to register to vote.
During cross-examination, a defense attorney asked Barber if there was anything wrong with someone showing an ID if they had one. Barber said that the civil rights organization was concerned about the new rules keeping voters away from the polls when they were able to vote in the past by just signing their name. Plenty of parents in the Triad are ready to get their kids out and about. They're snowed in, they're running low on ideas for activities. As Katie Husband shows us, burning off that cabin fever is helping some businesses recover from a snowed out weekend. For a list of the Guilford County School Snow Day makeup days, you can head to twcnews.com. Just do a search for school makeup days. Affordable housing was a topic of discussion at a meeting in Greensboro tonight. The meeting, hosted by the City of Greensboro and the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro, was held at the Hemphill Library on West Vandalia Road. This is the first of 4 meetings seeking the public's input on affordable housing initiatives. According to a report by the National Low Income Housing Coalition, a typical renter in the Greensboro High Point metropolitan area earns $12.58 per hour. The coalition says that hourly wage is not enough to afford decent housing. New technology at Guilford Metro 911 is helping first responders get to calls quicker. In the past, when dispatchers answered calls from alarm companies, they spent several minutes on the phone getting information like address, name, phone number, and the type of alarm. Now, the alarm company sends all of that directly to dispatchers' computers.
It saves about 20,000 phone calls a year is what we're anticipating. We average probably for alarm company calls anywhere from about 1.5 minutes to 3 minutes per phone call. So if you think about 20,000 of those calls, that's a lot of time we're going to reduce.
Guilford Metro 911 is one of only 2 centers across the state and the 13th nationwide to use that new technology. President Obama is once again flexing his executive powers. This time he's changing the way solitary confinement is used for juveniles in the federal prison system. Washington Bureau reporter Jeff Bennett explains. The Piedmont man who says he fell into a hole, then climbed out, speaks for the first time on camera. Rescue crews from Rockingham and Stoke spent hours searching the woods after he called for help. They never found him. Only reporter Christian Drummond has his account of the events that happened last week. Rockingham County Sheriff's Office is investigating Reed's story. The office says the search was expensive. They hope to reveal the findings later this week. Wake Forest and Virginia meet a day later than originally scheduled, and the Deacs take their best shot at the 11th ranked Cavaliers. Mike Solarte has highlights and more in sports. Our sports director, Mike Solarte, here now with a wrap. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Sharon. Coach Rivera is happy that as a Cal Bear, he and his team will not be practicing at Stanford. Those two are very bitter rivals in the Pac-12. So he actually said, thank goodness we're not practicing there. He's actually kind of relieved.
He always gives credit to the team, even though his family's there. He's talking about how he's happy for the team to get the opportunity.
Yeah, but that's how Ron's wired, and that's how this team is wired. I mean, they've always thought team first, next man up if a guy gets hurt. They've got each other's back. This is a really special group, and it's going to be fun to see how Super Bowl 50 plays out.
All right, thank you, Mike. Yeah. And big wins for the Carolina Panthers mean big business for two Triad companies. High Points Collegiate Enterprises sells Panthers ears, tails, and paws. Jill Rand Stitching Company in Davidson County manufactures the products and estimates they've seen about a 25% jump in how much they had to produce this season versus last. Collegiate Enterprises sells the goods to Bank of America Stadium and to individuals.
It's such a personal reward because it's not only a business, but it's something that you're doing something that everybody enjoys. And, you know, it's not like selling people hubcaps or lug nuts for a car or buttons for a shirt. I've got something that makes people really happy.
Collegiate Enterprises Panthers ears and tails retail for $10. The paws will cost you $15. Still to come here at 11, it's growing worldwide and in North Carolina. Coming up, the efforts by one organization to end human trafficking in the state. Fayetteville officials say a synthetic street drug called Flakka is making its way to the Sandhills. They say most of the drug comes from China, then makes its way to South Florida, then up I-95. The drug is made from a compound called alpha PVP and has similarity with bath salts. Police say the drug is unpredictable and highly addictive, and the recipe for it is constantly changing. That makes it hard to track.
As they come up with new ways to make synthetic drugs and new compounds to add into them, they use different cutting agents and things like that. And it does make it hard. Of course, anybody that has it, they're looking for a better way to hide it.
And officials say there have been more than 30 deaths related to Flakka use nationwide. Another problem in North Carolina, human trafficking. One city in the state is trying to raise awareness about this. Our state is ranked in the top 10 of trafficking cases reported, according to Shared Hope International. A proclamation was presented yesterday in Craven County, declaring this week as Human Trafficking Awareness Week. Brittany Toon explains how one organization is spreading the message of hope for victims. If you would like to learn more about True Justice International, just head to our website, twcnews.com, do a keyword search for human trafficking. Later in the show, a lesson for life, one that will hopefully help save lives too. Several school kids in Brunswick County learn a lesson in gun safety. And here is tonight's Carolina Minute. The Brunswick County Sheriff's Office is working to prevent gun-related tragedies. Today, deputies taught first and second graders at Town Creek Elementary School about gun safety and what to do if they encounter a deadly weapon. The program aims to educate students across the county and decrease the number of accidental shootings involving children. A Virginia appeals judge will hear oral arguments in the Rowan County governmental prayer case tomorrow. The commissioners unanimously voted in June to move forward with an appeal after a judge ruled the practice of prayer by commissioners was unconstitutional. The ACLU, who represents the three plaintiffs in the case, says the commissioners coerced people into saying the Christian prayer. Commissioners argue it is about freedom of speech. Raleigh is one of the top cities for food trucks, this according to the Merchant Cash USA. In an email survey, the financial organization asked more than 4,300 people where they thought the best food trucks were in the United States. Raleigh took the top spot with 29% of the votes. These stories and more are available anytime on Time Warner Cable News. And stay with us. Monty has a final check of your Weather on the Ones forecast coming up after this quick break. Actor Abe Vigoda has died. The character actor was best known for his roles as Detective Phil Fish on the TV series Barney Miller back in the 1970s and as a mafia soldier in The Godfather. His daughter says he died this morning in New Jersey. He was 94 years old. A group of volunteers from the Triangle is hoping to collect 10,000 bottles of water to help victims of the drinking water crisis in Flint, Michigan. Several drop-off locations have been set up for the public in Raleigh, Durham, and Greensboro. Many of Flint's residents are relying on bottled water for cooking and drinking after the city switched its water supply to the Flint River. The new source has toxic levels of lead contamination. Co-organizer James Montague says he is just trying to do his part to help those struggling in Flint.
We're in a great city. We take water for granted. But you know, you have to think about it sometimes. You can't take everything for granted. And people that have been blessed to be in a good area, you need to be able to share your blessings and see how you can reach out and touch people.
Last Wednesday, Michigan state lawmakers voted to allocate $28 million to help Flint with the water crisis. If you would like to donate locally, check out our website, twcnews.com. Before you head to bed, let's get a last check of the weather now with Monty. All right, sorry about that. We, of course, have Monty's full forecast online, twcnews.com. That is our time here at 11. Thanks for joining us tonight. Jimmy Kimmel Live is up next. Time Warner Cable News is available around the clock and on your schedule. Have a great night. Hope to see you tomorrow.